Hello, writers. So as writers, we like words, we like stories, but we kind of also like to get paid, right? Sooner or later, you have to make a living. So what I want to talk about today is how to make money as a writer. And I'm also going to touch on how the MFA, or the Masters of Fine Arts in Creative Writing, can play a role in that. But I want to start by telling you what this video is not. So I am not going to pitch some kind of course that you have to take in order to learn my secrets. I'm not going to give you some kind of magical formula to make tons of money as a writer. And I'm also not going to tell you how to make tons of money self-publishing your YA fantasy novels. So that's not what this video is about. In this video, what I want to do is talk about the ways that I have made actual cash as a writer, from small amounts to bigger amounts. And I'm just going to walk you through all of those things. And my hope is that my sharing my story with you will help you not imitate me or copy what I've done, but I hope that it'll give you some inspiration to go out and find your own opportunities to make money as a writer. So let's start at the very beginning. Back when I was in English 101 in college, that's where this all began for me. I loved English 101. It was so fun. And I think I was the only person in that class that liked it. I think everyone else was bored out of their minds. But I thought that class was so cool. And one thing I had to do as part of that class was I had to do some service learning. And that entailed going and finding almost a mini internship, I guess, that had to do with writing and literacy in some way. And I ended up tutoring second graders. I would go a couple times a week and I would sit with second graders one-on-one and I would just read books with them. But I had a lot of fun. No, I did not get paid for it. We're not to that part yet. But I had so much fun tutoring there. And I thought, hey, my college has a tutoring center. I think I want to go volunteer as a tutor. So I decided to go into the tutoring center and I said, hey, I want to volunteer here. And they said, oh, well, we don't take volunteers, but you can fill out an application for a job. And I was like, getting paid to do this? Yeah. So I did, and I got the job, and it was really cool to help other students with their writing. No, I wasn't being paid to write, but it's still a job that I got because of my writing. I had to have a certain grade in my English class because of my writing to get that job. So that's really where this began for me. And I really enjoyed that experience. And I did that for a couple of years, transferred schools, and decided, okay, I'm going to tutor here too. But it was a much bigger school with more competition for the tutoring center. And so there were no positions open. And so I was unemployed for my first semester at this new university. I think that was one of the best things that's ever happened to me, because while tutoring is great, not having that job that I wanted forced me to look elsewhere. And so I looked at all the jobs that are available to students on campus, and I found one that needed a journalist, writer, editor. I can't remember how they described it exactly, but I applied. And even though I didn't quite meet their criteria as far as the courses I had taken and all that kind of stuff, they hired me. I think I was like one of the only people that applied, so they didn't have much of a choice. But they hired me, and it was amazing. So this was my first job as a writer. Like, I could say, like, I'm a writer and I'm getting paid to write. So I was a student, so it was part-time. I worked about 10 hours a week. But my job was, I worked in a department that dealt with faculty, some faculty training, faculty conferences, the faculty magazine, all that kind of stuff. So I got to copy edit the faculty magazine, and I wrote news stories that were relevant to faculty. And so I would go around the university interviewing faculty and administrators that were doing cool things. And I'd write these little stories about what was going on in the university at the faculty level. And that was really, really fun. I had some really cool experiences. I was just thinking the other day about one of them where I went to go interview a guy in the ag department, and he was like, well, why don't I just show you what I do? And so we hopped in his work truck, and I think I was like all dressed up with like a tie and stuff, but we hopped in his work truck and we went out to the school farm, and he took me around the farm. I was like stepping in mud and stuff with my dress shoes, and it was crazy, but it was super fun. So if you are in your undergraduate years still, look for opportunities to make money with your skills. I know a lot of English majors, fellow English majors that I went to classes with, who didn't do anything beyond their homework. and they didn't really get any relevant work experience in their field. And so I feel like they were just kind of stranded after they graduated. I don't really know where they ended up, but it just seemed to me like they were graduating without any of these marketable skills that would have been really valuable, where I was able to actually build a resume with my writing, with tutoring and with writing. And it was really, really valuable. So if you are an undergrad, I highly recommend looking around for tutoring jobs, writing jobs, editing jobs, whatever it might be that can help you to start building a powerful resume. And if you've already graduated from your undergrad, if you are off to your master's degree or off to the workforce, there's still opportunities. Look around. So when it was getting time for me to graduate, I was nervous because I didn't know what I was going to do. But I happened to see a job posting on Craigslist. Is Craigslist even a thing anymore? I don't know. Anyway, I saw a job posting there for a content writer and social media manager position. And it being Craigslist, I wasn't super sure of how credible this source was, but I think I also found it on the university's job board. So I applied and I got the job. And this job, from what I heard, actually had quite a few applicants. It was much more competitive, but because I'd had that prior experience, I was able to get the job. They seemed to like me, so I got the job. And so I worked for this little company out in the middle of nowhere, Idaho. They had a warehouse out there, and I wrote content for their website. I wrote content for their social media, and talking about their products and all that kind of stuff that they were selling. And it was a cool little job. And no, I wasn't exactly writing poetry or fiction or nonfiction or the kinds of things that I'm interested in, but it was kind of cool to learn about these different industries that I had no idea even existed, and to learn about this part of the world that was very new to me. And it was cool to write content, even though it wasn't like content I was really passionate about. I was able to write content that went on Facebook and Twitter and stuff and went out to thousands of people. I had a huge audience. It was actually kind of fun. The downside of this job was that I was making $9 an hour. I was very underpaid. And I think that they knew I was underpaid. I think they knew it was going to be kind of a temporary thing. They weren't going to be able to pay me enough to keep me long term. So I was there for about a year and a half after getting a pay raise to $10 an hour. But I was there for about a year and a half before I decided, okay, this has been good, but this is not what I want to do the rest of my life. I want to go back to creative writing. And so that's when I decided to get an MFA. So I quit that job. I started teaching for VIP Kid, which I've mentioned in a previous video. VIP Kid has changed a lot since then. China basically doesn't allow people like me to teach anymore. They don't allow international people to teach in the same capacity. So, but that gave me the time I needed to really put my materials together, get some writing done, and apply to grad schools. And I will try to post a video somewhere here about how I got into my MFA program that I got into. It was a fully funded program, which actually leads me to the next way I've made money as a writer. I went as an essayist. I kind of left as a poet. I did poetry and creative nonfiction while I was there. And I got paid. I got a stipend of like, I want to say $1,100 a month while I was there for the first year, and maybe $1,300 a month after that. So not like tons of money, but like just to get paid to go to school, basically. That was pretty cool. And it wasn't just to go to school. I was tutoring again in their writing center for the first year, and then I taught college classes the second year. Both experiences were really good. I'm really glad I got the opportunity to teach college. And yeah, it was just really cool to get paid to do all that kind of stuff. And there are a lot of fully funded MFA programs out there that will pay you to go to school, usually in exchange for teaching, tutoring, some kind of work on the side. But that's just great resume building stuff right there anyway. So I enjoyed teaching. I went to get my MFA thinking that I would continue teaching afterward, but I was able to just talk to a lot of faculty about the market for teachers right now. And at least at the college level, it's not great. The full-time tenure track faculty positions are really, really hard to get. And if you get them, there's really no guarantee you're going to get tenure anyway. And then you're back to square one. And most people just kind of get stuck adjuncting, which doesn't really make you a lot of money. So at least for now, I decided to put the teaching on hold. I may reopen that can of worms later, but for now I've decided that's not really what I want to do. So I've done a lot of things since graduating with my MFA, some of it relating to writing and some not. So I'll talk about the things that do relate to writing. But first of all, I think I'm getting ahead of myself a little bit. I have a couple other things I wanted to mention. So the first, here and there along the way, I've had a couple of freelance opportunities that just kind of came to me by word of mouth, and those were fun. There's actually a huge industry out there for editing people's master's theses or doctoral dissertations. So huge demand for that. Years ago, while we were still in college, my wife and I, through word of mouth, got a hold of a guy who needed his thesis edited, and we split it up. My wife took the first half, I took the second half, and we edited it. Edited it? I hate that phrase. Edited it. We edited the manuscript, and we got paid $400 for it. So that's pretty cool. If you can have those coming to you regularly, that's good money right there. I also want to mention that there are opportunities as a creative writer specifically to make money, but don't get too excited because it's not really a sustainable kind of source of income. I really hate it when I see websites out there that are like, how to make money as a poet, and it like lists 20 literary journals that pay you for your poetry or something, but it's like, good luck living on that, you know? But I have made money with my creative writing, so I thought, yeah, I should mention it here. So again, don't get too excited. But I did win second place in a little contest during my MFA, just there at the university, and I won $100 for an essay I wrote. So that was cool. Another one I got paid for was an interview I conducted with another writer. Interviews are a pretty common thing to see in literary journals. And so a literary journal published this, and they paid me like $25 for it. I think the only other money I've made with my creative writing is I published a poem in, I think it was Whale Road Review, and they have this cool feature where they can link your poem or your piece to your PayPal account so people can tip you if they want to. And so I think I made like $5 from that, which was really cool. I'm really glad they do that, and I'm really grateful for the person who thought enough of my poem to give me $5 for it. That was really cool. But again, not exactly something to make a living off of, even though there are some opportunities to get some spending money here and there, maybe. The other thing I'll mention, and this isn't cash necessarily, but I still consider it payment. I wrote a couple of book reviews for Colorado Review, and each time I wrote one, they were a couple years apart, and each time I wrote one, they gave me a free subscription to their journal, which I consider to be pretty valuable. That's a nice resource to get a nice journal like that for free. That's pretty cool. So to me, that has a lot of value to it. But as far as my creative writing goes, that's all the money I've made so far. And even further down the road, where I have books and different things that I hope to get published, I still don't really anticipate making much money. There's not really a lot of money in writing creatively anywhere, unless you just really make it crazy big. Most really successful writers also have a day job. That's just the reality of it. Okay, but let's move on to what I'm doing now, and also how my MFA is currently helping me with what I'm doing now. So like I said, I'm doing a number of different things. I've got some YouTube channels, I've got some part-time work I'm doing that's not writing related at all, and then I actually do have my freelance work that is paying me currently. So I've used two different websites, and I'll link both of them below. I'll actually link to my profile on those websites so you can go and check out kind of how I've had it set up. So the two websites are Upwork and Fiverr. And you're not gonna make a full-time income on this overnight, but if you wanna build this as a side project, it can over time really pay off. So Upwork and Fiverr are built a little bit differently, and this may change because these websites are constantly adding features and changing things. So the landscape of it might look a little different in the future. I think as I'm filming this, it's already changing somewhat. But in general, Fiverr is a place people go to find freelancers. So if you need a logo, if you need background music for your video, or if you need an editor or a writer, you can go to Fiverr and hire somebody. And so on Fiverr, what I've done is I've created these different gig packages, is what they're called. So I have one for editing your poem, or editing your short story, editing your essay, or editing your MFA grad school application. different things like that. And then there are different packages within those gigs, depending on if you want a lot of help or just a little proofreading or whatever. And so someone can go on to Fiverr, find me, click my name, and then click on those and just buy it. Like they buy me as an editor, and then I do that gig that they bought and I send it back to them. And yeah, it's been awesome. I like Fiverr a lot. It can be pretty slow at the start. I did my profile, set up my little gigs to sell, and I don't think I made a sale for months. It took forever. And I think the first one I actually made was because of this channel. This channel kind of sent some people over to my Fiverr, and I was able to get some clients that way. Since then, it's grown, and my Fiverr is kind of more self-sustaining, and I get clients directly from Fiverr as well. But it can be kind of slow to start, and it's helpful if you have something else like YouTube or a social media account or something to help direct people to your Fiverr. And then Upwork is different. So instead of just creating your profile and your gigs or jobs or whatever, and just kind of hoping somebody hires you, instead, it's really the reverse. So a client goes on, creates a job, says, this is what I need. Here are the qualifications I'm looking for. Here's my budget. Here's all that kind of stuff. And then you, as the freelancer, get to send them a proposal. So you kind of get to apply for that job. And as you apply, they get to decide which one they like best. But if you're a good writer, you should be able to get some good jobs without too much trouble. You'll have to put in some work, but I've done some cool stuff, and I'll put some links below to some of the stuff I've done. I think only one of them is actually live. I'll have to check on the other one to see if it ever went live, but I got to write an article for a little company. I don't remember exactly what they do, but the article was basically about some of the research they had done about third-party food delivery services like DoorDash, to see, like, are people really using these versus more traditional ways of getting food? And so I wrote up this article about that. And then the other one, and I don't know if this is published yet, I wish it was, but there's a little nonprofit organization that had me attend a webinar by the Secret Service about how to prevent school shootings, and it was fascinating. And then I wrote kind of a write-up summary of that meeting to go on this little organization's website. So it's really cool, the opportunities you can find. I've also helped people with their memoirs, and I've helped people with their stories and, different things. So there are lots of opportunities between these websites. And my MFA has been helpful. It is very helpful when you're creating these profiles to say master's degree up at the top. That carries a lot of weight, I think. And not only that, my experience, while I did go to do creative writing, it's an MFA, it's creative writing, I did kind of a secondary concentration in rhetoric and composition. And a lot of those classes were professional writing classes, professional editing, content, all that kind of stuff. And so that was also helpful. But just the credibility that comes with being able to say, I have a master's degree, I think that really is quite helpful in this world. I think it really sets you apart on these freelancing platforms. But if you don't have an MFA, if you're not planning to get an MFA, that's okay. You can still make it as a professional writer. You don't have to have a master's degree. It just really is a nice credibility boost, if nothing else, to get you on your way. So that brings us to the present moment where I currently am. I don't use Upwork as much anymore, but I consistently use Fiverr, and I'm about to hit 50 gigs, 50 orders that I've completed on there. So that's pretty cool. And I'm excited to see what the future holds. Right now, it's just kind of a side gig, like I've said, but in the future, maybe it'll be more than that. And I've really appreciated the kind of opportunities it's opened up to me. And, when you're starting out, it might be hard to charge what you're worth because you have to get reviews and get kind of a track record going. But once you've got that, then you can start to bump up your prices to a place where it's worth your time and it's worth their money, and you kind of find the sweet spot. So I feel like for the most part now, the gigs that I'm doing on Fiverr are well worth it for me. So it's cool, and I'm excited to see where it goes in the future. I wish I had some kind of magical formula for how you could make 6 figures as a writer really simply, but I'm not there yet. but I have made money in a lot of ways as a writer. It's been a fun journey, and I'm excited to see where it goes. So feel free to ask me any questions that you might have in the comments. If I can help with any editing projects or applications to MFA programs or anything, feel free to send me a message on Fiverr. And yeah, I'll talk to you later. Bye.